All right, so we are still at the Freedom Statue, and of course, we are getting post comments after the whole protest and thing. So, just trying to maybe do follow up questions, what GTO is all about, or maybe try to get comments in terms of issues, different issues that they have raised, and talking about obviously credibility of certain institutions. Of course, I am with my colleague Modifa Kapungwe. So Modifa will take us through.
All right, so we're joined by the Deputy Commander in Chief and Chairperson for GTO, that's Comrade Brian Kayongo. And first of all, you've been very vocal today, and you've played quite a very influential role. But we know the state of the Anti Corruption Commission and the views that people have on its current state. So, with all these demonstrations, do you still feel the Anti Corruption Commission is credible enough for this?
So the idea now is to actually mobilize people-powered movement to be able to force. It's not the anti-corruption's role to actually change itself. There are other instruments or legal frameworks that can actually force or transform the ACC from its current state and so on. So during this process, I think we've been able to raise some of the, the rules or the laws the acts within the Anti-Corruption Act that needs to actually be adjusted. One of it is the component on immunity, where they actually negotiate with the criminals to actually give them, the leeway to actually go scot-free. So what we are going to do is that we're going to do nationwide protests to actually force the legislative arm of government, which is Parliament, to be able to amend that act and ensure that it actually provides for example, we've suggested no nole to corruption cases, no bail to corruption cases, so that they strengthen the legal framework to ensure that those that actually tamper with public resources should face the law, but also those that are actually serving the public now should be deterred from actually, stealing public resources because they know that the law is stiff when it comes to corruption. And we know that the last press conference of the president, he was very clear to say if he had the powers alone, he would actually change the law. So clearly the president was signaling to all of us that he needs the support of us citizens to be able to actually, suggest to government on what needs to change when it comes to anti-corruption.
All right. So some members of the ruling party, the UPND, did complain about the way the courts are operating.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the way the court is operating? Other people feel they are being independent because they're not being influenced by the ruling party. But overview, what do you think?
Yeah. Initially, the three government arms needs to be independent. The judiciary needs to be independent in order to adjudicate on cases in a more transparent and in a more transparent way. But the problem that we've had, especially in the previous regime, is that it was within their constitution, it was actually a must that strategic positions within government entities, whether judiciary, executive, or parastatals, and so on, should be occupied by party members. So, if, for example, with the change of government, nothing has changed in the judiciary, our assumption is that some of the judges might actually be members of the former ruling party, and if cases that involve their members are taken to court, we see some kind of biasness in terms of how they are actually being attended to. So it's something that judiciary as a whole, the new Chief Justice and his team needs to reflect on to ensure that they make some reshuffles and look at where the challenges are and so on, so that this can happen. But the biggest problem is with the people that take these cases to court. They need to be prepared. They need to ensure that they put their cases clear, so that then the courts can actually adjudicate in a way that brings that actually brings justice at the end of it all.
Finally, people, especially the opposition, they're crying out that the fight against corruption is a political witch hunt. So how best would you advise the government to fight corruption in a way that is fair to both parties?
So in our call today, we've actually called for a comprehensive way of fighting corruption, because politicians alone are not the only ones who actually run government. We've had, civil servants that, facilitate processes of procurement and other things that have been left scot-free. And from the time we started talking about corruption in the MMD government, most of these civil servants still occupy offices, and we've not seen so much being done in terms of prosecuting civil servants. So our core is that instead of just focusing on politicians as beneficiaries, I think this fight must be comprehensive, to also involve top civil servant people that actually deal with the authorizations and so on. If you look at it, actually, politicians are final beneficiaries, but when it comes to actually facilitating contracts, it's a chain. We all understand government procedure when it comes to procurement and so on. But what we see in the spotlight is basically politicians, and we agree that this fight must be castigated. It must be comprehensive enough so that it touches on everyone who is the public office bearer.
All right, thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you so much.
All right, so we were talking with Deputy Commander in Chief for the GTO organization, Brian Kayongo, and did share his views on how credible enough the Anti-Corruption Commission and other law enforcement agencies should operate. Thank you so much.
All right. So, of course, that was Modifa right there talking to Brian. And, of course, right about now, we are joined by Dr. Beck Banda, who is also part of the Generation Takeover. I would say the vocal man in all this, or the man in the forefront, to see to it that Generation Takeover finally do what they are supposed to do, and very vocal in mentioning that the generation that was born right before independence, this is the last time that they are occupying office, both at presidential level and of course as civic leaders. Dr. Banda, good morning and welcome to this interview.
Thank you so much, comrades. I'm happy to be here.
All right, so just a quick one. Obviously, I will still take you back to the issue to do with the anti-corruption, the fight against corruption, and all this. I know many people have no confidence in the Anti-Corruption Commission anymore, but let's look at your view as an individual citizen. Do you feel that ACC is still competent enough to fight corruption?
Comrade, the Anti-Corruption Commission has a very, very good, law framework. Unfortunately, within that law framework, the manipulators with the mind of criminality, with the mind of corruption, have factored in some clause like the amnesty clauses, which only favors those who steal big to be given amnesty upon paying a particular amount of money. And the Anti-Corruption Commission, because its technocrats and its members of staff are the ones who go and sit on the table with those people whom they want to give amnesty, to negotiate how much this person has stolen, to negotiate what this law talks about. They are prone to be corrupt themselves, because they are the ones who even hint to the criminals that in their act there's a provision for amnesty. So by so doing, whilst the Anti-Corruption Commission agenda must be supported by the citizens, in its current state, the Anti-Corruption Commission has no tooth, because they are criminals within the Anti-Corruption Commission. Why am I calling them criminals? I call them criminals because you cannot arrest a person who has stolen millions from the citizens, a person who is supposed to go to prison then you allow this person not even to spend a day in the cells, and you give them amnesty. And that amnesty is carelessly given. They don't give amnesty to the people who bring back all that which they've stolen. They've made it so crafty that this person can only pay something, so that outside their offices they can go back to that person and say it's because of us that this has happened, and they can actually be also corrupt. If that commission has, to be effective, first and foremost, all those who were serving in the anti-corruption commission in the previous regime must actually be, retired in the interest of the nation. But we are also aware that if they had to repeal the anti-corruption, laws in Zambia, they must start with the issue of the amnesty. As Generation Take Over, we do not support, and we shall never support, criminals to be given amnesty, to be given immunity. And we are appealing to the president, actually, that among so many other laws that needs to be, repealed or deleted in the Zambian history, is that which has to do with the amnesty. Let them repeal that one and replace it with what we think as Generation Take Over and as a citizen of Zambia, maybe the, sexual, criminal law, where people who sexually abuse or who sexually, demand for women, for girls to be employed, they ask for sex. Let that be actually a corruption case. And we also demand that in the anti-corruption, law, let corruption cases be non-bailable. As GTO, we are going further, that when the Anti-Corruption Commission are investigating cases that are found in the Auditor General's report, we don't want them to manipulate criminal cases that are committed by the civil servants by changing names like mismanagement of funds. Let them arrest them. Let criminals in the Auditor General's report be, convictable, because each year and every such a year, the Auditor General's report tells us how much millions are misplaced in the civil society. But the focus of the country is just on politicians. Why? It's because the politicians share these resources with the technocrats, and they remain in each and every government. They continue stealing. In each and every government, they actually recruit the new politicians and highlight areas of weakness in the systems. So asking me about the current Anti-Corruption Commission, comrade, it has a lot of rotten elements. One of it, the Nole. Second, the existing staff who have benefited from a corrupt system. They have built houses, and they will definitely be able to continue even in this regime. Let them be retired in the interest of the country.
Thank you so much, Dr. Banda.
So much.
All right. So, of course, getting over to Modifa, as she has a youth advocate who took part in the match. Over to you.
All right, so I'm joined by Simumba Sikwibele, National Coordinator for Youth Advocate for Development and Unity. And of course, he'll be sharing with us his role in this demonstration. What really is your role in GTO?
Thank you very much. As you can see, the symbol that I have here, the broom. As you know, the broom is used to clean up with the mess that we have, the dirty. What I've realized is that most of our offices here in Zambia, they're filled up by people that do not have the heart for this country. The people that only want to benefit on the expense of the majority, especially the young people themselves that actually vote to ensure that Zambia becomes a better place. Since independence, we got independence. Zambia got independence politically. But in terms of economic, a lot of challenges are still there. And we realize that an idea like this one, this much past, becomes the one tool that we can be able to use to voice out to many young people outside there that feel that they have been trodden upon, that feel that actually their rights has been abrogated, and those who feel like they can also find a way in which they can share one way for the challenges that they are facing.
All
So,
right. Okay, so you are advocating for generation takeover as youth, and that young people should be put in these very influential positions. And we saw the emphasis on, having a president that is actually born after independence. Do you think, as a youth, youths in Zambia are credible enough?
exactly. You know, historically, we are told that the people that fought for this independence are actually the young people. Kaunda was actually 40 years at the time when he became the president, meaning the struggle began when he was still a youth. The other winners, the people that were there, the Scotta winners, talking about Venon Mwanga, who was an ambassador 21 years. Go back in the time of Christianity, Jesus Christ and his disciples, all those were young people. It's just the young people that can actually move this world. If the young people are left out, nothing can actually be achieved. So GTO has come at the right time, and we support this cause. We are going to work together to ensure that we work together, of course, with the old folks that are still there. They should be able to give us the platform to demonstrate our ideas, our thoughts, and see how best we can actually develop this country as a team. So I think to answer your question, yes, the young people have the capacity, they have the power to actually influence in key decision making areas in Zambia.
What do you suggest should be done to make the fight against corruption a possibility?
In order to fight corruption, the first thing that we need to do is to appeal to every Zambian, especially the young people themselves, because it starts from the young people. The young people need to have the better platform where they can be empowered well. Corruption it starts at childhood, where someone is not given a space to develop. And because of that, whatever that they want to do, someone else, they have to realize that they have to give someone something. So what we need first is to empower the young people economically. When the young people are empowered economically, it becomes easy for them. When they grow up, they will know how to work for their things. And the other issue that is there is to destroy the spirit of laziness. The young people need to be able to know how to work for their own money, that nothing comes for free. And once that spirit is there, we unite forces, ensuring that everyone else participates in development processes of this country. That on its own will be able to beget the nation that is going to be free from corruption tomorrow, because the young people will be able to know to say we cannot get anything for free, and that will be a better recipe for the country.
Your message to your fellow youths right now.
Okay, wherever you are, wherever you're getting me, young people, I cry with you. I know our challenges. We don't have jobs. I know our challenges. We don't have better opportunities to survive. We have the ministries for the young people, the ministries that looks into small enterprises, the ministry which is just supporting already the people that are doing fine in terms of businesses. Our businesses that we are trying to do are having challenges. I'm calling upon you. Join this movement, join this team, wherever you are, as we have discussions. Don't be left out. Come and bring those ideas. Don't just post these ideas on Facebook. Join the people on the ground. Listen to what we can do, and let's share ideas together so tomorrow we can build this country as holistically.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so those are the post comments from the protest, and of course, as Ubuntu Live, Ubuntu Media rather, we make sure that we get to bring to you things as they happen. Of course, from me and Modfa in the field, we say bye bye, and look out for Wednesday's edition of Meet Your Leaders, as we have Bishop John Mambo as our guest. So look out for that. Don't forget to like the page. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And don't forget to also follow us on Twitter. Thank you so much.